So, and it was just God's grace, man. After that TPF, the calls started coming in. And so the first call that came after that Project Fame was the Junction wanted to do a Christmas gig that is a jazz show. So they called me. I got a phone call. Like, hey, can you do for us something that's a jazz show, something? Like, sure. So I hooked them up with David Makuyu, and we had a nice, absolutely fantastic show at one of the theaters at Junction. That is where all that jazz was born. Not at the museum. It was right there. Because afterwards, we're like, let's do this thing. So we do some of this, because in my head, I'd seen, I'd missed those type of performances. Because a lot of the instrumental music is basically background music. You're at a club, a hotel, but a concert. Guys coming to listen to
the musician play.
That was the brief for all that jazz. And then number two, I was like, one of the things that I want to do, that I want to push this jazz brand, I'm gonna get pop artists.
Yep. Oh man.
And I'm gonna reinterpret their songs and have them sing in my show.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So can you remember the first all that jazz that you did?
I remember all of them. All of them. February 2011 was the opening night of all that jazz. And we had Kanji and Eric. Because those are the guys who I can easily call and do a gig. And so that one was, we packed out.
That's not where Kanji had broken his leg.
No. Dude, that's far.
Okay, so I'm just asking.
That's
all that jazz was actually one of those things that tickets are selling out.
Completely.
And you do it on such a weird day.
Because David Makuyu was working at Classic FM, so he was able to get us a deal to advertise there for all that jazz. So we're driving home one day, I'm hearing all that jazz, like prime time advertising. Okay, when I call him, you guys don't get 1,000 guys there. You know that thing sits like 300 people. So we packed it out completely. So when we did the first show, I was like, wow, okay. So we're like, other than doing it every month, because I'm like, the turnaround for a month is so short.
Crazy.
So like, let's do it every other month. Now the April one was a defining one for me. That was one of the defining all that jazz. I was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Because I got Sauti Sol and I got Giuliani. So I asked Sauti Sol to come. They did. I reworked their songs, and then had them perform. And then Giuliani. I think there's some clips on YouTube. And then there's Giuliani.
Fanya manicure na lishabuti nirudi pedicure, hata kwa na baridi na avaa vest nisi west, tangu kuja sleeve noma ikitoka, stress excess, patience less, nikifry mayai sahi ndakosa later, supu ya kuku, steak, madam steak, wala pizza, back tempting na glass, na eloka pia wana class, hakuna wasi. Wezi shikanisha hata wapewe super glue, nikipotu mungu juu, wako like 2+2, for what? So for so important, kusaka cash, sabotage, wanana so far as, bullets zinatoka magazini ya AK, Mungu anawisha to create the 8th day. Sunflower nini? Lakini spaki. Umeshika mkono. white cup forehead ya pandre, hata utiaje iko nene, lakini naendelea with no fear, iko nene. Chango chelija kompodi elegance, bitange toka side za Mumias, jogoje survive kuwika 3 times, isto bisia ku make sense, hope it makes sense. When I rap kept your goal yet. That's how it is, man.
Anyway, but Juliani just, man.
Peer me, who cry, just peer me, not you, man.
No, and then also I forgot to mention that my relationship with Juliani, that's the thing we didn't pass through in 2009, 2010, 2009 actually, 2009, yes. When he did his album Mtaa Mentality, I played on it, but courtesy of Musyoka. So I didn't play because Juliani asked me to.
Yeah, it's Musyoka who
it's
called
Musyoka who was, so when you hear that Kasisi pam pam pam, yeah, so a lot of those piano things that he did, that's how my relationship with Musyoka.
Yeah, nikawa napiga picha ya ID, hawa smile ni kubaya ai, wanacheza bano na makademia na salafu wanalienja ignorance, walitucheka eti nika tumechanganikiwa ka pudding, upuzi mazuri haitoki kwangu, kano kia 3310 even na bluetooth darasa, nilikuwa na kabak, Kenya imechange ni shofa, bado na kabak left, ukweli ni boring boy, mbona mbongi, angusha jiwe juu ya mkono tujue nani first body, tumechoose kupuuza, opinion inatupunguza, kelele necessary ni ambulance, zingine hatusikini nuisance, zitaendeshwa na nani kasi sisi, zitanunuliwa na nani kasi sisi, tutabadilishwa na nani kasi sisi, simanishi mwingine ni wewe na wewe na mimi, 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 wewe na wewe na mimi.
Yeah, but you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also, what else?
You played his album launch. Are you the one who played?
Yes.
Yeah.
His album launch. Yeah. But I remember that day I had another headache. I can't remember where it came from. I was really sick that day for Musyoka. Yeah. That backstage, before the gig, I was sleeping at the backstage. I just got sick. I was taking painkillers, nothing. I never had anything like that in my life. Even there's a point I was like, I don't think I can do this gig.
Yo.
Even I may have mentioned it to him. I was like, I don't know what happened because the headache was even shaking my neck. But I was able to do it.
That gig was crazy.
That was such a nice gig. It was such a nice gig.
That gig was crazy.
And also, was it the year before? I'm trying to remember, because the Musyoka, the Juliani connection is what hooked. That's 2008. Sorry,
2008.
That hooked me up with the connection for Emmanuel Jah.
Yep.
So when he came and he needed a band, what's his name?
Emmanuel Jah.
Yep. Juliani said that these guys play with me. These are the. So yeah, I did. We played with Emmanuel Jah.
And Juliani, in fact, here's some crazy footage of you guys playing at that.
Oh yeah, that was such a fun. And that guy who was the producer, I forgot, he's such a big producer in Ghana. He's ended up becoming like the dude for production. I forgot his name.
Who, the guy who would sing with Emmanuel Jah?
You know, on the setup, there's myself, Asaf, and Joji, the band.
Yes.
And then there's a guy on decks and on a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a guy who's singing.
Yes.
Now the guy on the laptop and doing the production and the half live tracks.
Yeah.
That's the guy. I forgot what was his name.
Okay.
But anyway, So all that jazz, so that became my I like, okay.
By
so,
monthly gig.
Yeah. So which artist can I get? So which artist can I get to do this thing? So which pop artist? And that's why I say, like, sometimes do some things for free for people. So if you ever call them and they are like, hey, can you do this gig for me? And me, I was upfront. I can't pay you. I'm just trying to make this thing. If there's some money, I'll pay you. And they're like, sure. So we did June. We did Patricia Kihoro. We did Ma3, which is by Bros Mini, because he asked, but then that one was tricky because we're also at the moment doing All Stars. So I felt like I didn't put my mind to that one. So it had there were hiccups. So I took a break. I'm like, you know what? Let me take a break because I'm also doing these All Stars and I just need to pause. Let's pause. So we're like, I told David, let's come back in November. So, but I had a gig that changed my life. Another gig that changed my life.
I love these change my life stories.
Hugh Masekela is showing up in Kenya and playing at the
museum.
At the carnival. Now in 2011, in 2010 I'd done this show with a gentleman called Bobby Ricketts via Sarakasi. It was featuring Atemi Oyungu. So it's a fantastic sax player. Now in 2011 he asked me to go to Tanzania to do a series of performances with him. Guess who's the best player? He was the music director for Earth, Wind and Fire and played with Michael Jackson's This Is It. His name is Maurice Pleasure. So I'm like, how am I supposed to play this guy? So it ended up being 10 days of just ridiculous music. Because now I'm sitting listening to these guys telling me these stories of, so how was This Is It? How is it to play with Michael Jackson? So he's telling us like what happened that day when Michael Jackson passed away.
What?
Yeah, he's giving me like, he's one of the guys playing.
Yeah.
So he's giving me all these stories. I'm like, so every moment I like pause. You guys, you are actually there. Like, yeah. The way they had been booked for 2 years in the UK. I was like, how, man. So it's like he's giving me the insider. So now, I didn't know that one of the people who showed up for the gig in Tanzania was a booking agent or is involved in music. So he comes in one of the gigs and tells me, by the way, I'm doing a gig in Nairobi for Hugh Masekela. Would you like to play? Like, sawa. So exchange contacts, but he didn't. That was it.
This is now in TZ.
In TZ.
Okay.
So in July 2011, yeah, he tells me, he calls me. He's like, oh, I've gotten a deal with Safaricom. Hugh Masekela is coming. See, you still want to play the gig? Yeah, so that's when I sent David Makui, like, this is how much you're going to get paid. For me, that was such a moment because I got to spend like 4 hours with Hugh Masekela backstage. 4 hours with the Hugh Masekela. Backstage. I was like, sometimes I'm like, wow. To the point even when he came back in 2016, he remembered, like, yeah, how have you been doing? Yeah. So even at that time in 2016, I took them to, because they're doing interviews at Capital FM. So that's how I met Hugh Masekela. He remembered. Like, you have such great, he had such wisdom. You guys gave me so much wisdom, you guys. That's when I was like, okay. That's a sage. Yeah, so that was a big one for me because I was like, Hugh Masekela, man. I'm the opening act. And the place is packed at cars can't nini. So I was introduced, and for me, that's when I realized an art of performance in terms of when to know you're an opening act, what type of music to choose. And when you're an opening act, remember it is not your gig, number one. So you're coming there, it's a platform you've been given. It's Hugh Masekela's gig. Even they may put your name there, like with the opening act, Aaron Rimbui, but It's not your gig. So what I learned and from seeing other people's opening gigs, you're hard hitting. Don't talk much. Don't give stories. You're coming to play your best tunes.
And out.
And out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Introduce the songs even after. You know, of course you don't want to be rude. Probably even in the middle, like you just play the first song. In, out.
It's
out,
moving.
Out. Yeah. But you see, sometimes I've seen a couple of artists, you're the opening act and you're making it into your gig, talking to the audience. You'll get them tired, and which is not fair, or they can even kick you out. So that was a learning, I was like, and that's what we did. 1, 2, out. We played the best tunes that I have. I rehearsed so hard.
Make your set tight.
It was tight, because I'm like, the band, this is Hugh Masekela, man, you know? And I'm like, this is an opportunity. Who knows who will be here? One of his guys may just like my music and call me for an open. And that's when now my international tour started.
What do you mean?
2011.
From that gig?
Yeah, no, from the Zanzibar gig. But then from there, that's when they're like, this guy needs to be booked. It didn't happen soon, but now I was like, oh, so you came for that gig. Later you're like, so you're there. Like, you know, so we go back to just 2011. So I'm still now heavily involved in Mavuno, and I may say that in 2008, I officially left by Kijiji in my capacity as one of the in-house producers. So by then, now 3 years later, I had already established myself as an artist. So the only thing that I was doing now with Kanji was now the Mavuno stuff. I was not even a musical director. I was just now a musician hired to play at Mavuno, because I wanted to concentrate on my other stuff. So now we do another important thing happens in 2011. So the Soul tell me, and they tell me that they have been invited to play at the Safaricom Classic Fusion that is featuring Black Mombazo, Ladysmith Black Mombazo, and they are playing with them. Can you come and play keyboards for us, piano for us? I was like, of course, Ladysmith. In my mind, I'm like, I have been with Hugh Masekela, Ladysmith Black Mombazo here. Of course, I will do that. So that ended up, you remember how the place was so packed on Gong Road, at what is it called, that place? The rugby nini.
Ngong Race Course. No, not Race Course. Impala.
RUF, the grounds. Oh man, oh yeah. And that was when my relationship with Safaricom started crystallizing. Cause that's when
hold on. So at this time you already know you are not working for that. That was like Safaricom's first all that jazz, but it was classical.
It was classical. And you see, at that time, Bob Collymore had just come in.
Yes, I remember it very well.
So they were like, he was still getting into the rhythm of things. So they kept on doing this thing that Michael Joseph had started, which is a classic fusion. So there were 2 events. There's one at the VIP one.
The VIP, yep.
That at Arboretum, and then there was the one at
Gong Race Course. No.
No.
You are the grounds. Yes.
Rugby grounds. Let's call it that. Yeah. So that's when I met Mr. Collymore. So it's like, hey, how are you doing? Then in 2000 and the same year, a couple of months later, Eric does a gig, a very stripped down gig, which was like a launch of his 3rd album, Life and Protest, at the Elephant. So he invites Blinky Bill, all these artists, and then there's some corporate guys, and Bob Collymore shows up. So I'm playing with Eric. So I play, and then he comes like, so that's the first time I had a conversation with him, like, so what do you do? Like, yeah, I'm a pianist. They're like, hey, you really play well. So I told him, actually, I've got a show that's called All That Jazz that is happening in the next 3 weeks. So like, sure. Send me an email and I want to come. So in November of 2011, that's the one now Kanji had his injury. And with Ian Bugwa was hosting it. Patricia Kioro. It was like the Mbugwa thing. It was even Kevin Samuel Mbugwa was there. Kanji Mbugwa and the Bugwa, yeah, the Bogwa affair, you know. So, and that's when Mr. Kolimo came and saw my show. So he started getting a very good, keen interest in the All That Jazz show. Because now the December one, we took the venue somewhere else. We added a twist to it. We took it to the Tribe. And that one featured now Mudhoni.
Mudhoni drama queen.
Yes. She's the artist, like, come and do my show. And Mudhoni is so cool. Because we did her music. It was so, because her music is so interesting.
Yes.
But then she was like, first of all, she asked me, why are you calling me? Like, why? Like, I think your music could really work with what I do. We improvise. And so that Tribe one was another one. It was Silayo, Mudhoni, and who else? Who played?
I think I remember it. You did it outside, huh?
Yeah, it was outside.
Yeah,
That's the
outside,
pool.
Yeah.
Very nice setup,
Yep.
nice lighting. It was packed. And so Safaricom people came. And that's when now my relationship with Capital happened. It happened a few months before because they started doing these shows called the Lounge. What do you call it? Because it ended up being the Tusker Lounge. But there's one they started before that. They brought Vivian Green. But Silayo was playing in it. So we went there, and it ended up being that there's a mix-up of things. So Vivian Green thought it was a small gig.
Oh yes, I had that thing.
Yeah, she thought it was a small strip-up gig for 200. She comes and shows that, finds 2,000 people. so Silayo's band ended up playing with
serious?
Yeah. With Vivian Green, because she's like, okay.
I thought this was acoustic, intimate thing.
That happens. So now, so there's all these gigs that have happened. There's now this All That Jazz that has happened in end of 2011. 2012.
What did All That Jazz teach you?
Number one, it is really hard to do gigs in this country. Because gigs are expensive to do, number one. However, people are interested in them. It's a very strange relationship. It is difficult because I'm the performer, but I really want to do these things. And then number two, Kenya has, if people believe in you, if you've got your circle of friends, they will really support you. So there's this crew of guys that are like, we are going to come for all your gigs and we will be with you till when you stop. So that's the thing, that like, there are some really loyal guys who follow and build your career. And that is also something that is very special in Nairobi. So there's some guys who are like, they'd even send me emails and text messages. When is the next one? I'm bringing like 5 people. They're like, wow. So there's that support that happens. And so I'd mentioned there's one All That Jazz we did in February of 2011. Now we started getting corporate sponsorships. Because now the Capital FM came in as the sponsor. Because now what David Makuya at that time felt is like, Classic FM doesn't seem to really fit your brand. Because Capital FM already have a jazz show. So why not
have a convo with them?
Have a convo. And that's when I met Somoina. Little did I know that a couple of years later,
you'd be working.
So the February 2012, that was my favorite all-time favorite
All That Jazz.
All That Jazz, because I brought back Sauti Sol, I brought back Eric, I brought back all the guys. I think even Giuliani may have been there. I was like, let's do a fun one. And then we had gotten sponsorships. So that one was the first one where I'm not stressed, because all the bills have been paid, everyone. So all the ticket money.
Profit.
I was like, this is how a gig is supposed to be. Man, first, and then it packed to the point where we had to tell people we don't have any room. The auditorium at the museum sits about 320 people. We had 500. There's even a pic. I don't know if they're a pic. Guys were sitting on the aisle. Guys were almost on the stage. It was so packed. Even when I got on stage, I was like, whoa. Whoa. And it was so alive. You know, one of those gigs, you're like, everything just fits so perfect. Guys
Yep.
are heckling and making so much. They're responding to it. Guys are even on the corner. It was so much fun, you know. And so that is my favorite All That Jazz. Because the next one, it rained, so it affected things. But we had a Waire. Who else did we have? There's someone else we had. So I had Waire. So I was still keeping.
Yep.
So the entire All That Jazz series, up till 2013, I was doing a lot of pop musicians and collaborating. Because in my mind, I'm like, that will also bring people.
Yep.
So I'll advertise and say, I'm playing with this person. But then it'll be like, Waire is playing. Like, Waire? Like, you know, Julian is playing. Okay. Bodoni is playing. What is Bodoni doing? And then she'll go onto a platform and says, I'm playing with Eric, you know. So 2012 ended up being another monumental year for me, in the sense that, of course, Project Fame happened again. So we got paid. But now I did my one of my first international gigs at the Jahazi Jazz Festival.
Where?
It was Zanzibar.
Zanzibar. Okay.
Oh man, woo! It's such a nice gig. Oh wow! It. I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do for the rest of my. I was like, I'm glad I'm doing this one, because they're the ones who reached out to me.
Yep.
Because they're like, would you be interested in doing the Jahazi Jazz Festival? I was like, okay. I'd never heard of it before. Then I saw the guys who are playing there. I was like, oh, okay, yes, I will do it. I will do it. So we went there. It was 5 days. It was such a fantastic gig. And that's when I met a connection that will end up helping me later. I met this Malian Danish musician. His name is Musa Diallo. Little they know he has got a huge network in Denmark.
Oh man.
And he was really into my stuff and what I was doing. At this time, I was not at production. I had not done any album. Now, in terms of my own music, I hit a writer's block. There's a tune that I did that I was like, no. No. Because like it's time to, because the last album was 2009. It's 2012, I've not done anything. But I'm not feeling it, man. I'm like, I want to do an album, but the compositions are not working and it feels like I'm repeating myself. I'm like, I want something. So like, you know what? Anytime you have a writer's block, never force it. Like it will come when it comes. There's no hurry. We did a series of All That Jazz concerts in 2012. But then, towards the end of 2012, Mudhoni calls me and she tells me, I've got a gig for you. I'm like, who? Have you ever heard of R&B artist called Dwele? I'm like, oh, you mean? I'm like, yeah. He's coming to Kenya, but he wants to do a live, yeah. Can you? And before that, there's a lady called Claire Phillips from South Africa.
Yes, the guitarist stroke.
Yeah. So she has started this thing of collaborations. So she asked me if I'm interested in this collab, where we can, like a workshop-ish thing, where we sit and create in a room, leave these two artists, see what you can do. And that ended up being such a fantastic gig, because Claire Phillips right now is such a huge artist in Cape Town, South Africa. And then now later she calls me and tells me, hey, Dwele is coming. You want to do a gig with him? You want to do the thing with him? But for me, I was like, Dwele has been Kanye West. This guy, like, so like, absolutely. So he comes to all that jazz.
Oh.
In fact, I tell Mudhoni is like, where can he listen to you playing? Like, you know what, you're very good. I've got all that jazz. In fact, even I shifted the dates. Like, so when is he coming? I like, because I had not set the date yet.
You hadn't announced.
He had not announced. It's like he's coming on the Thursday I booked was like a week earlier. So like he's coming next week on Thursday. Okay. I just called David. I told him, okay, we're doing next week. Dwele is coming to my show. Like he can come and see me playing. Of course he
came.
He came. He came to all that jazz.
Whoa. And you're like, okay, fine.
And Dwele Johnson. I think Johnson, yeah. Gardner. And Dwele the Gardner, yeah. He showed up for my show. And of course, with these artists, you sit down and they give you all these stories. So we ended up hanging out backstage. That was another gig for me. I'm like, I'm playing with Dwele. How did this happen? You know? And so
now you are his band for Blankets.
Absolutely.
Man. And after coming to all that jazz, he was like, okay, I trust this guy.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. Because even after that, all that jazz went to the hanging out at Brew Bistro. So that's when now I went, we officially introduced each other. Like he's like, yo, I like your playing. So like when do we rehearse? The next day we booked a rehearsal space. He came. And so we were like, wow, you know. So sometimes when I hear his music, like let's say playing on the Sirius XM or streaming somewhere, I'm like, I played that with this guy. I played with him, man. I'm like, those are moments you're like, wow, how did this end up being like this?
Let me ask, I'm not sure if you did this, but were you ever in Coke Studio?
I'm coming there. That's the next year.
Bro.
That's 2013.
Sorry, but I was just like, in my head, I'm like, I know your band members were there, but I was wondering, I can't remember seeing you.
Yeah.
But if you're coming there,
My sessions with Arcade are still going on.
Under TPF?
Even with TPF.
Yes.
Because in between TPF, so it's still TPF where is the musical musician. But I'm still a session musician. Every so often I'm still doing my stuff. So I'm still working. But now I'd started, you see, as you can see, I'm not talking about many artists. Because now I'd started zeroing in on what I really want.
Yep.
2013 shows up. Was it late 20? I attended a show for the Tusker Light Experience, where they brought, what is that one?
Joe.
No, they brought...
That's when they were doing the R&B guys.
Yeah, they were doing... Joe's 2013, but there's an artist I showed, and that's when I met David Sanders. Who is Mandala, who ended up doing Coke Studio. So he tells me that there's this show that's coming out in 2013 that is huge. Or do you want to be involved in it?